Hey everybody, it's Mike Sullivan with Born to Shine. Today we have a pretty awesome guest. His name is Al Lewis, and he is the superintendent out in Wayford. I'm gonna mess this up. Al, help me out. It's Wayford, New Jersey.
Weymouth Township, New Jersey.
Yep, I totally blew it. That was awesome. Nice. And well, thanks for being with us today, and thanks for taking some time out of your busy schedule. And I really appreciate you being on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk with you today, Mike.
Awesome. Well, let's just dive in, if that's cool with you, Al. It's always so interesting to hear how people become a superintendent because that's a really that's the highest position in a school district, and it's a lot of responsibility, a lot of decisions, and you're helping to make sure that the kids are getting everything they need. So, our listeners and myself would love to hear what your journey was like, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. It's a big position. I tell people I'm still in my first year. I'm just coming to the close of my first year, and the hairs on my neck still stand up when somebody calls me the superintendent. Um, but it's been a long journey, and it's interesting looking back and seeing how all the pieces of my experiences led me to where I am now, which is not somewhere I ever thought I would be. Yeah, I was a pre-law major before I was an education major, and I got into coaching youth hockey, my cousin Nick's hockey team, and I loved working with kids. And I made the switch. I just went with what I was feeling in my gut and in my heart that I really liked having an impact and helping children, as I know my teachers helped me growing up. And I just really worked at that. And when I got to student teaching, it was my aha moment that I had found my calling, that working in a school was definitely where I wanted to be. Um, and I taught in a very affluent district in Camden County, New Jersey, which was very eye-opening to me because that was not my experiences growing up. And I learned a lot, from my mentor, Karen, and from my coworkers and my principal at the time. A lot of life lessons, a lot about the art and the science of teaching. And after a couple of years, I got the itch to consider possibly being a principal one day or being an administrator. I went back, got my master's degree, and taught for 5 years. And then I moved into administration in Gloucester Township, New Jersey. And I was a STEM supervisor there for just shy of a decade. And really diverse community, great people, just phenomenal teachers, wonderful administration, great coworkers, great place to be. I started a STEM camp for Title I students, historically underrepresented groups. And that's still going on today, despite my departure last year. Actually, the person who replaced me sent me a nice message saying how it filled to capacity in 11 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So just to see the impact, I mean, that was something that didn't exist that I could point to and say, hey, I did something here that had an impact, and that's really special to me. My passion is helping historically underrepresented groups and to amplify their voices. Um, I really developed a focus for student-centered learning in Gloucester Township. I had a great coworker and good friend of mine, Dr. Jeffrey Christo, and he was really all about making school work for every student. And he used to always say, every student means every single student.
Mhm.
And he really was a great mentor to me and a sounding board. And I still go to him for advice, even despite, the career change. He's someone I can always go to for some wise counsel. Um, and then, to be honest, I was not looking yet to be a superintendent. I did get the superintendent cert while I was at Gloucester Township. I thought maybe one day I would. And someone brought me the posting for Weymouth Township, and it was just too perfect to pass up. And I interviewed, I went through the whole process, and the whole time, I talked to my father-in-law a lot. He's my go-to guy for prayer
Mm.
and for that fatherly mentorship that I didn't have growing up. And the whole time I was telling him, it's not going to happen. I'm too young. I'm too new. I have so much to learn still. It just isn't going to happen. It's a good experience, but it's just not going to be me. Even though it felt really good, a good cultural fit, good fit with the board. And to be honest, I was really, really pleasantly surprised to be appointed superintendent last July. Um, when people hear I'm a superintendent, they kind of all shrug their shoulders and go, oh, okay. Just because I don't think I fit the mold of most superintendents, which is something I take pride in. I pride myself on just being a really authentic, humble person and just really plain spoken. Um, so I always love that look of kind of amusement on people's face because I think they think superintendent and you think stuffed suit. And it's not. And even getting to know the county superintendents, that's not us. That's not Atlantic County. It's real people with a real passion for kids. But I just still don't see myself in that role. It still doesn't feel real. Um, but it's a big job. It's been a year, like a whirlwind of scenarios and incidents, and celebrations. I would not have predicted in my first couple of months what I had experienced, including touring the building with a state senator and bringing him in and showing him all the great things that are going on. So it's been awesome. When people ask me how it's going, I kind of have this canned response, which is true, but it kind of sums it up nicely, which is I've never had a more difficult job, but I've never had a more rewarding job. So I'm truly blessed to be a superintendent, and I can't believe I'm coming to the close of my first year soon.
Man, now that's awesome, dude. I love everything you just shared, and it's so clear, like right out of the gate, that you are humble, and that you are authentic. That just kind of shined through the whole time you were describing your sharing your journey, because you're praying with your father-in-law and saying, I don't know, is this? I don't think I'm gonna get it, and this that whole time, it just shows your humility, and that's such a cool quality to have in any human, and then the authenticity, that's awesome. And I think nowadays people crave that more than ever, just to really know how someone's doing, and instead of the just the um fake response that I've been guilty of, throughout probably college. And how you doing? Oh, I'm good, everything's good, even though you're kind of, oh, there, it seems like something's going on, maybe they're struggling a bit. So love that. Humble and authentic. That's great qualities for any superintendent or any human being, really, for that matter. So that's awesome.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my wonderful wife Ellen either. The last stage of me becoming a superintendent was me asking permission to take the job, because I knew, as I predicted, came true. Some of what I would have to be taken away from falls on her. So,
Mm,
I'm really blessed. Ellen supports me in everything I've done. She's never once told me, hey, don't chase this, or don't chase that. Every step of the way, she's been there to kind of let me go, whether it ends up being a fool's errand or not. She's always there backing me up. So
wow, isn't that amazing? That I don't know how the saying goes, but God bless Ellen, right there. And what's the saying? Like, behind every great man is an even greater woman, or something. I don't know the
yeah.
saying, but something like that. So that's just, there you go. I know that was true with my mom and dad, so that's cool. And then, so the second question, and I'm so, this is actually my favorite one, that when I get blessed to connect with people like you, Al, that are superintendents and helping kiddos, on the academic side, and working with your director of curriculum and director of learning and all the components that go into the development of a child. Part of that is their emotional health and their mental health. And for me, when I was around second, third grade, I started getting bullied really badly, and that really kind of amplified the anxiety I was already feeling, the social anxiety and the ADD and OCD. And I had an A through Z, man. I struggled as a kid, and that conversation was always taboo back then. So I'm just trying to really stigmatize it and just open the convo so kids can get the help and support they need. And I'm just curious, when you were in K through 12, any time in there, Al, was there anything that you may have struggled with?
Yeah, that's a great viewpoint to have. And I share in your mission to destigmatize mental health issues. My family is certainly not immune to that. And I always, offer that up to people that, I empathize with them when I hear someone struggling with OCD. My wife also struggles with OCD, and, we endure those things together, right? I mean, sicker and better health. Like, we made a promise to each other that we'd support each other and persevere through that. And I let people know all the time, there's just no shame in that. And for me, it was, growing up, in the 80s, divorce rate was much lower. And I came from a single parent household. And, the embarrassment at times, or the shame that your family didn't look like other families. And, we didn't have the money or the means and the experiences that other families had. We worked very hard as a team. My mom and my older sister, Jamie, and I. It takes a lot to run a household. I see that now. I tell my mom all the time, looking back now, I see how much Ellen and I do for our two kids. And, I don't know how she did it alone. We all work together, and we just had a mindset of, if something needs to get done, it's the three of us. So one of us has to get it done. And yeah, I just remember that feeling growing up of, people would describe what they had done over the weekend or over the summer or over holiday break, not having as much to share. But I had a wonderful childhood. Like I had a mother who, loves me dearly, and gave us all she could, worked her, tail off and worked multiple jobs to put us through school and to put me through hockey and, to do the things we needed to do. Um, but I just remember that feeling. I was also the youngest person in my class. I was on the cutoff for kindergarten, so I went into kindergarten the day I was eligible, and
Okay.
I was immature. I apologized to my K-12 teachers, some of which I keep in touch with. I know I was a scooch, but I got decent grades. I was an AB student, but I just was immature. And I tell people all the time, I did not hit my stride as a student until my junior year of college. And I was 16 at the time, or I'm sorry, I was 20 at the time. And it was at that point that I really started feeling like I was motivated for a goal. And then, like I said, senior year student teaching, it finally all made sense to me. It stopped being abstract. It started being real. This was going to be my career and I needed to get ready. Um, and I'm not the man I was at 20. I'm not the man I was at 30. And it just takes people time. Kids grow at different rates. They learn at different rates. They have different needs. So I endured, and I experienced, some bullying. I had a good group of friends. I had the same friends throughout my grade school years. So, I was lucky in that area, but certainly not without my struggles and not without empathy for those who deal with that. And now I'm on the other side where, I was the teacher and I'm the leader, where I can set a tone that, in Weymouth, we don't tolerate that kind of stuff. We care about our students and their well-being comes first because the child cannot learn if they're enduring bullying, right? If they're hungry, they can't learn. If they're upset, they can't learn. We're here for them to learn. So to do that, Maslow's hierarchy, we have to take care of those other things first.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's awesome to hear that from a superintendent like you, Al, and fortunately more and more superintendents are sharing your point of view, and that's the I guess goal number one, taking care of their emotional well-being, their mental well-being, and then everything else falls into place, right? Then they can really learn. Then they can learn teamwork and resiliency and empathy, and they can, excel in school and succeed. But that root is let's help the kid feel safe. Let's help them feel like they're taken care of. That they have support. So that's awesome. And then when you, well, at right now actually at your school, what's working really well, for supporting your kiddos with their mental health, or what would you like to see more of, or just love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned curriculum directors, and my curriculum supervisor Helene Fulmer has been just phenomenal. She's been here, longer than I have, and she has a lot of institutional knowledge, but she also just shares in my mission of bettering the lives of children, and she puts the kid first. And she has a counseling background, so she's someone who I learn a lot from. They've put a lot of things in place here in Weymouth that I've learned about throughout this year, and I've started, building towards improving. We have our four pillars, being respectful, responsible, ready to learn, and keeping each other safe. And we try and root everything we do in those four pillars. That when we exhibit those behaviors and when we're engaged in those areas, that's when we can learn and when we can do our best. We this year partnered with Rutgers University and the New Jersey Department of Ed to engage in the school climate project, where we're giving surveys that generate data on school climate and how students, parents, community members, staff feel about their social emotional well-being. And we're going to be giving this survey multiple times a year for the next couple of years and using it to develop a data-driven action plan towards improving school climate and culture. Because Weymouth Township is a lot like other townships, right? Every family has its trauma, every family has its needs. This area of the state is a more rural area. There's less of a support network. So, one of my short-term goals is obviously improving school climate and culture, but my long-term goal is creating a more of an anchor for the community and transforming the school into a community school where there would be, a food bank, public resources, classes, community resources, just a hub for everyone, whether you're a student, a family, or whether you're a retiree living in town.
Mm.
I want the school to be known as an anchor where if you need help and support, we're here for you, because that should be the mission of every public institution. If we're not here to better the lives of those around us, we've really missed the mark here.
And that was awesome. That's so cool, Al. Yeah, because now not only are you helping the kiddos and your staff, but then it extends out to their, parents and the whole community. I like that. I love that term too. It's a great visual to be the anchor for the community. That's really cool. And then if there's any um, thoughts or final thoughts or advice or just anything that's on your heart, we'd love to hear that. In case
Yeah.
I didn't have a question, you're like, man, I wish Michael would ask that. Why didn't he ask that? So that's what this part's about.
Yeah, I would just say if you're considering ever being a superintendent, or whether you're thinking of being a leader in any capacity, assistant principal, principal, curriculum person, whatever, just be yourself, be authentic. You don't want to work somewhere where you have to pretend to be someone you're not, or put on airs. And, as a new administrator, I thought I had to act a certain way or be a certain way. And I didn't really have an impact on people until I just started being myself. And I've just learned, even in through this interview and coming into Weymouth, just being me, because they want me.
Hmm.
And actually, one of my board members told me that. They said, we didn't just want you to be superintendent, we wanted you specifically. So when it's a good, authentic fit, things will all fall into place. And I guess part of that is the relationships. Everything we do, no matter what position you're in or stage of life you're in, everything is about relationships. When you're connected and people feel like they can trust you and that you trust them, and you have an open dialogue, people will feel safe, and everything you do will be kind of leveraged on that relationship, because you're going to have to make 50-50 calls sometimes. I had a parent this year tell me, I don't agree with this decision at all, but I know you. I know you're a good man and that you did what you thought you had to do. I mean, you can't really expect a higher compliment than that for someone to say they don't really like what you're saying, but they trust you.
Yeah.
And I told her that, I don't take that lightly, how much that meant to me. And I would say, other than that, if you're not looking to be a superintendent, which is totally fine because you won't end up bald like me at 38. If you're just in anything you're doing, working with children, the great late Rita Pearson once said, every child needs a champion. So
Hmm.
whether you're a coach, whether you're a parent, no matter who you are working with kids, everybody needs a champion. Be that person in the kids' corner they can go to and know they're not going to get blasted or be afraid to make a mistake. That they can come to you and say, I need help. I don't know what to do. Help me out here. Everybody needs someone like that in their life. And I've had a lot of people in my life, I could go to and say, hey, I need some help on this one. I tell my kids all the time, if you want to know the job of a superintendent, I say 1,000 times a day, I don't know. Let me go find out.
And Al, that you are a champion, bro. I love this is actually my favorite part of this whole podcast was awesome. You were awesome, but those last whatever it was 90 seconds were amazing because it's so true. Every kid does need a champion. Every kid needs someone to tell them that they matter. You matter, you have value, you're important, you're not a mistake. We need you here. This and that's it's incredible that you are setting that kind of tone like you said earlier and that type of you're creating that atmosphere for all the students, for your staff, for even the parents, that's you're right, that's a huge compliment that what she said to you. So yeah, I don't even know what to say. That was awesome. Thank you so much, Al, for sharing your insights, and really appreciate you being on the show, man.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you for the great work you're doing. I watch a lot of your videos, and I see the impact you're having and your authenticity, and taking something that was negative in your life and turning it into positive vibes out there for others to grow from and see and be seen, right? And that's the other thing with kids. We want them to feel seen.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. They definitely, I hear that a lot too, from superintendents. They're trying to help their kids be seen, to be heard, to be valued, to know they're important. And you're doing all that. So thanks, Al. Really appreciate it, man. Thanks for taking some time with us today.
Thank you. Pleasure was mine.